Check the date, January 17th, 2024. No better time than right now to make some way too early NASCAR playoff predictions. My favorite time of the year. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Why is this my favorite time of the year, you may be asking? Well, we are still weeks away from the start of the NASCAR Cup Series regular season, which means the possibilities are still endless. Anything can happen this year. Some people are afraid of the unknown. I embrace it. Today, I will be predicting the 16 drivers, in no particular order, that will qualify for this year's NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. I'm seeking redemption this year because I must admit, last year was not my best showing. I only got 12 of the 16 drivers correct. Granted, unforeseen injuries to both Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman sort of screwed with my picks, but I had both AJ Allmendinger and Chase Briscoe advancing, whiffed on that. I didn't expect either RFK Ford to make the postseason. Look how that wound up. I just didn't see enough consistency out of the RFK cars last year. Couldn't put either of them in. 12 for 16 may sound like a decent score, but I expect better of myself. I'm aiming for a perfect score this time around. I genuinely think this could be the year. So let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right in. There are really only 8 drivers that I consider to be virtual playoff locks. I'll give our most recent championship 4 the benefit of the doubt. Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, William Byron, and Christopher Bell will all qualify for this year's playoffs. Blaney's the defending champion, 3 wins on the year, got red hot towards the end of the season. Kyle Larson and that 5 team may be the most complete team in the entire garage. Crazy talented driver, Cliff Daniels is a proven leader, fast pit crew, and of course Hendrick Motorsports has tremendous resources. They are the complete package. Much of the same can be said about his teammate William Byron, who popped off last year with a series high 6 wins. And Christopher Bell has qualified for the championship race in back-to-back years. He even finished the regular season top 5 in points. So those 4 I feel are pretty safe. I'll also show some love to some veteran drivers, some former champions in the mix here. Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. will make the playoffs. Denny Hamlin has made the playoffs 10 years in a row, and he's come up just 1 spot short each of the past 2 years of getting all the way to the championship 4. Joey Logano was not as consistently fast last year as I expected, but his teammate still won the championship. Logano is a 2-time champ himself, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Not to mention Ford is getting an all-new body. Could make a huge difference. Kyle Busch was unable to maintain the torrid pace he set in the first half of last season, winning 3 races. He had 7 straight top 10s at one point, fell off a bit, became more inconsistent, I should say, the second half of the season, but he too, like Logano, is a 2-time champion. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. And then, of course, there's Martin Truex Jr., who for the second or third year in a row will be constantly facing the retirement question. Didn't phase him last year, though. He was the steadiest, most consistent driver all throughout the regular season, won the regular season title, racked up 3 wins, 4 if you including the Clash. Look, I know both Joey Logano and Martin Truex Jr. have missed the playoffs in recent seasons, but again, Logano's getting a new Ford, Truex is getting a new Toyota Camry. I expect these guys to make the playoffs. They are series champions. Still, I believe, at the top of their game. So those 8, boom, half my playoff grid is already filled out. I consider them virtually locked in. This is where things get difficult because to me, from like 9th to nearly 29th in points is wide open. Does Bubba Wallace make it in this year? He barely snuck in last year, got some help from Chase Elliott. Daniel Suarez drives for Trackhouse, but missed the playoffs last year, has historically kind of underachieved in Cup. Alex Bowman is coming off injury. Ty Gibbs is entering his sophomore season. Michael McDowell won a race, but only had 1 other top 5 all of last season. What about Stenhouse? What about Spire Motorsports? They've got new drivers and more cash than they seem to know what to do with. Stuart Haas is rebranded. Can they reinvent themselves on the racetrack? What about Legacy Motor Club switching to Toyota? So many questions, again, from 9th to basically 30th on the grid. Let's start filling this out, though. Both RFK Fords will make the playoffs. I'm not making the same mistake I made a year ago. Look, to be fair, I hopped aboard the RFK hype train early in the season, and I haven't hopped off since. I believe they are legit. last season was not a fluke. Chris Buescher set career bests in nearly every major statistical category, and what stood out to me, his 3 wins came at 3 very different types of racetracks. He had a super speedway win at Daytona, a 2-mile intermediate win at Michigan, a short track win at Richmond. That has me convinced Roush is back. And Brad Keselowski is a championship caliber driver himself. He has not won a race yet, but if you look at his top 5, top 10s totals last year, he was close to what he was putting up every year at Penske. I believe Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski will make the playoffs this year. 2023 was not some flash in the pan. 6 spots left. Let's put Tyler Reddick in there. Advanced to the round of 8 in his first year with 23-11. Also nabbed 2 wins, one on a road course at Circuit of the Americas, another at an intermediate, Kansas. He continued 23-11's Kansas dominance. The consistency does concern me a bit. Reddick was up and down much of the year, but he was good in the playoffs, ended the year on a high note, I believe. Team owner Denny Hamlin has said there's a 5-year plan for 23-11 to become championship contenders. This will be year 4. I think the team is ahead of schedule. I expect Tyler Reddick to make the postseason. Next, don't worry, I did not forget about the watermelon man, Ross Chastain. Yes, he'll make the playoffs this year, I'm convinced. After an extremely impressive 2022, which saw Ross Chastain win twice and advance to the championship 4, 2023 was a clear step back. Thanks to his win at Phoenix in the finale, he still won 2 races, but Ross was bounced in the round of 12. Chastain simply was not as fast consistently last year, especially after he received the talk at Darlington. Remember, after that Darlington race, Ross was leading the regular season standings. He wound up finishing outside the top 5 in points by the end of the summer. And that's despite winning at Nashville in between. That win at Phoenix, though, reminded everyone that Ross Chastain is as talented and unafraid as ever. I think that's the best version of Ross. Keep in mind, he's got new sponsors on board with Busch Beer. Wendy's has joined the team. I think Ross Chastain puts together another good year and will make the playoffs for the 3rd consecutive season. So that's 12. I got 4 spots left. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you'll know I'm very high on Legacy Motor Club. I think Eric Jones makes the playoffs. Remember, last year, Legacy Motor Club received next to 0 manufacturer support. That all changes in 2024. I'd argue Legacy is joining Toyota at the perfect time. Not only are they coming off a fantastic season as a manufacturer where 5 of the 6 Cup Series Toyotas made it to the round of 12, but Toyota is also getting a brand new Toyota Camry body. The last time the Toyota Camry was revamped was in time for 2017. Martin Truex Jr. won the championship that year in a Toyota Camry. Legacy will be a key partner team. They've got new sponsors on board, and Eric Jones proved that even without manufacturer support, he is a force to be reckoned with. He won the Southern 500 in 2022, driving a car for, at the time, a Tier 3 organization. The kid has talent. I think Jones is more seasoned, more experienced than he was 3, 4, 5 years ago with Joe Gibbs Racing. I think Eric Jones will make the playoffs this season. It would be his first playoff appearance since he drove the 20 car in 2020. Moving on. Okay, all right, fine. I've kept y'all in suspense long enough. Yeah, Chase Elliott will make the playoffs this year. I know he missed some races, but Elliott's average finish last year was 13.1. For comparison, regular season champion Martin Truex Jr. had an average finish of 13.3. Kyle Larson nearly won the title with an average finish of 14.6. The only issue with Elliott's performance last year is he just didn't win. And that is a concern. He needs to turn a few more of those top 10 runs into top 5 runs this season. Look, I believe last season was an uncharacteristically bad year. We have years of data. From 2018 to 2022, 5 straight seasons, Chase Elliott was winning 2, 3, 4, 5 races a year every year. I think he'll figure it out. I think he turns things around this year. Look, even in an uncharacteristically bad year last season, the 9 car still finished top 10 in owner points. I believe Chase Elliott gets back in the driver playoffs this season. Only 2 spots remain, and I haven't even mentioned Bowman, McDowell, Suarez, Stenhouse, Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe. A lot of good drivers to pick from. I got Bubba Wallace making the playoffs for the second straight year. Look at the numbers. Bubba Wallace has been with 2311 for 3 years now. Every year he has gotten progressively better. He was the 16 seed last year, but scored 4 top 10s in the playoffs, made it to the round of 12, and if things went a little differently in the closing laps at Texas, Bubba may have made it to the round of 8. Would have been the first 16 seed in the playoff era to do so. He really only had one bad race in the early rounds this season, and it was Kansas, one of his best tracks. He was running second at the time when he hit the wall and I think broke a toe link. I know Bubba rides the wave of emotion, but I really like what I saw from him late last season. A lot of pressure at Daytona. In the regular season finale, he did what he had to do. Pressure in the round of 16, he managed to advance. Again, his average finish has improved by a couple of positions every year since he joined 2311. 2311's got that new Toyota Camry coming in. I believe Bubba Wallace will make not only the drivers' playoffs this year, but he'll also get that 23 into the owners' playoffs for a change. One final spot. I could make a case for any of the 4 Stewart-Haas racing drivers. I really could. Chase Briscoe's been there before. They paired him up with his old Xfinity crew chief Richard Boswell midway through last season. They could catch fire this year. They've done it in the past. I liked how Ryan Preece finished last year. He had 5 top 15s in the final 8 races of the season. Noah Gragson is a huge unknown, sure. Josh Berry, I think, is an unknown as well, but at least he has championship caliber crew chief Rodney Childers in his ear. You could make a case for any one of these drivers, but I don't have any Stewart-Haas Fords making the playoffs. I don't believe the new Mustang Dark Horse will be enough to overcome losing veteran drivers, major sponsors, and minimal team and ownership changes. I'm sorry. I'd love to put Daniel Suarez in this spot, but I just can't. Not with confidence. He's lagged behind his teammate the past 2 years, failed to make the playoffs last season, while Chastain still managed 2 victories. Suarez was overshadowed by his teammates at Gibbs, at Stewart-Haas. I'm worried the same thing is happening to him here at Trackhouse, and there are a ton of talented drivers eyeing that 99 car. The pressure may be too much for Daniel Suarez to overcome this year. Alex Bowman is an interesting case, because if he's at 100%, he should make the playoffs this year. The problem is, based on his performance the entire second half of last season, I'm not sure we've seen Alex Bowman back at 100% since the back injury. So that's such an unknown, that's such a question mark. I can't put Bowman in, at least not for the time being. How about Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse? They both had solid years last season, but wouldn't have made the playoffs without wins. Both are solid super speedway racers, but McDowell won on a road course, and now the Indy road course has been taken off the schedule. There are only 3 road courses in the regular season as opposed to 4 or 5 in years past. Fewer opportunities for McDowell to break through, unfortunately. How about Spire Motorsports? Corey LaJoie, Zane Smith, Carson Hocevar? I'd love to say that this new look Spire gets a driver into the playoffs, but I just don't think those are realistic expectations. Look, Zane Smith, Carson Hocevar have the raw speed and ability to snatch a win somewhere, similar to how Cole Custer managed to win in his rookie season at Kentucky. But more than likely it would have to come at a super speedway, and those are just too difficult to predict. Corey LaJoie is the veteran, the leader of the group, if you will, but it's hard for me to put him in the playoffs considering he only had 3 top 10s all of last season. He'll be better this year. That team will be faster, but I'm not confident picking them to make the playoffs. What about the Austins? Austin Dillon, Austin Cindric. Austin Dillon led the series in DNFs last year. Clean that up, and Dillon may have a real shot at making his 6th NASCAR Cup Series playoff appearance. Austin Cindric, meanwhile, talk about a sophomore slump. Hopefully year 3 is nicer to him. Only 5 top 10s last year, and 3 of them came at road courses or super speedways. We've got to see more from the 2 team next season. I am big on Toyota this season. I think this final spot has to go to a Camry, but which one? Ty Gibbs in his sophomore season? John Hunter Nemechek in his return to the Cup Series? 2 young drivers, a ton of raw ability and potential. I'm going to give this spot, y'all aren't going to like this, to Ty Gibbs. 10 top 10 finishes his rookie year, but you could tell he got more confident as the year went on. He mounted a charge late in the summer, knocked on the door of a playoff spot. He had top 5s at Pocono, at Watkins Glen. Unfortunately, a crash at Daytona ultimately eliminated him from playoff contention, but even in the final 10 races, despite not being a playoff driver, Ty Gibbs scored top 5s at tough tracks like Bristol, the Roval. He was 7th at Homestead. He had a top 10, top 15 run going at Las Vegas before the team left a wheel loose. Again, I am a big believer in Toyota this year. JGR has a great mix of veterans like Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, and young talent like Christopher Bell and Ty Gibbs. I think Toyota is going to get a lot of cars into the playoffs this year. I'm going Ty Gibbs over John Hunter Nemechek because if I have to leave one Toyota out, I think it's fitting that it's the newest driver on the newest Toyota team. John Hunter versus Eric Jones will be very interesting to watch. I think Nemechek has a ton of raw ability, maybe needs to refine his racecraft a bit, be a bit more patient. We saw that bite him in Cup a few years ago when he was with Front Row. Give it a year or two, I think John Hunter will be a legitimate playoff contender. But in his first year with Legacy, I've got Eric Jones making the playoffs. I have high expectations for that team, but I'm not going to be unrealistic. Getting one Legacy car into the playoffs would be a huge deal for that team this season. I'm leaning Eric Jones. I'm leaning Ty Gibbs, getting in over his new Toyota teammate. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Those are my 16 drivers, my way too early NASCAR playoff predictions. These drivers haven't even seen the racetrack this year yet. I feel pretty good though. I think I'm going 16 for 16. I am way more confident this year than I was last year. Let me know if you agree with any of my controversial picks. Which picks do you disagree with? I can't wait to read your comments. That is going to do it for this episode, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more great NASCAR content every single day, and a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for going above and beyond and help keeping this show growing. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next episode.